Pre-1978, North Gujarat was locked in a brutal rhythm. For most of the year, the earth cracked under a relentless sun. But when the monsoon finally arrived, it rarely brought relief. Instead, it brought devastation. The Sabarmati River, swollen with violent seasonal rains, regularly burst its banks and swallowed entire neighborhoods. Homes, roads, and livelihoods were routinely washed away in a matter of hours. Then, as quickly as the water surged, they vanished. Without infrastructure to capture the runoff, the region was thrown directly back into severe drought. Farmers who survived the floods were left sifting through dry dust, unable to grow enough food to sustain their own families. Gujarat had just been formed as a new state in 1960. If it couldn't break this punishing cycle of extremes, its ambitions for growth and its very survival were going to stall before they even began. The pressure to find a solution was mounting rapidly. Cities like Ahmedabad were booming, and their rapidly growing populations desperately needed a permanent, reliable water supply that didn't disappear during the dry season. The push for action came straight from the ground up. Leaders like Dr. Vasant Parikh walked for 9 grueling days from Vadnagar to Gandhinagar, rallying the public and demanding a massive physical intervention on the Sabarmati River. The campaign worked. In 1971, the national government stepped in, with Prime Minister Indira Gandhi officially laying the foundation stone for a project that would artificially alter the river's course. This was the birth of the Dharoi Dam. It was an ambitious, generational attempt to construct a permanent defense against the volatility of nature. But taming a river of this magnitude required immense local sacrifice. The planned reservoir needed massive amounts of space, ultimately consuming nearly 350 hectares of forest and thousands of hectares of arable farming land. The human toll was even heavier. To make way for the water, 47 entire villages found themselves sitting directly inside the future inundation zone. Thousands of families had to pack up whatever they could carry and walk away from their ancestral homes. They were forced to relocate and rebuild their lives from scratch on unfamiliar ground. As construction finished and the monsoon rains arrived, the massive new reservoir slowly swallowed these lands. Generations of local history were permanently erased beneath millions of cubic meters of water. The long-term prosperity that millions of people in Gujarat enjoy today was directly paid for by the profound sacrifice of these displaced rural communities. What rose from that submerged valley was a massive feat of engineering. The Dharoi Dam is a masonry gravity structure, standing nearly 50 meters tall and spanning over 1,200 meters across the Sabarmati Basin. Its primary job is containment. Behind that massive concrete wall sits a reservoir capable of holding over 900 million cubic meters of unpredictable monsoon runoff, trapping the floodwaters in place. Once the water is safely stored, the dam redistributes it. It feeds directly into the sprawling left and right bank canals, which stretch for over 70 kilometers to deliver a precise, year-round flow to the surrounding regions. And when extreme storms do hit, the dam utilizes 12 massive radial spillways. These act as a giant pressure release valve, safely discharging excess water downstream before the reservoir overflows and breaks the structure. This concrete wall physically intercepts the deadly extremes of drought and deluge, neutralizing them into a highly controlled, life-giving asset. The dam's influence is written directly into the soil. With over 200,000 hectares of crops now reliably watered through the dry season, lands that once sat fallow for months are now productive year-round. But the water goes far beyond the fields. The dam generates steady hydroelectric power, and crucially, it provides a constant, drought-resistant supply of drinking water to downstream urban centers. This constant water security provided the baseline infrastructure needed for Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar to expand. Without a guaranteed daily supply, the high-density development of these major urban centers would have been physically impossible to sustain. By solving the basic math of water scarcity, the reservoir allows the region to function as a modern economic hub, rather than struggling for seasonal survival. And its protective role is just as vital today as it was in the 1970s. During recent extreme monsoon events, the region faced torrential rains that severely threatened millions of people living downstream. To prevent structural failure, engineers executed a massive roaring release. They opened the gates to vent over 64,000 cubic feet of water per second, safely bleeding off the extreme hydrostatic pressure. Because this release is tightly controlled, the water level flowing through modern Ahmedabad stays perfectly manageable. The dam acts as an active, physical shield, keeping the city's pristine riverfront promenades dry, even while the wider region floods. Now, the site is entering its next phase. The state government is investing 1,100 crores to transform the surrounding reservoir into a world-class sustainable ecotourism hub, bringing new economic life to the very area that was submerged decades ago. 50 years after the first stone was laid, the dam remains the stabilizer of the Sabarmati, constantly calculating and correcting for nature's volatility to keep Gujarat's future secure.